Hello and welcome to Freight Logistics Hub podcast, where we discuss the historical developments of freight logistics in Kenya and East Africa. I'm your host, George Kidenda. Thank you for being our supporters by watching our programs as we tell the history of freight logistics in this part of the world. I'm trusting that you are finding the information that we are sharing are very useful. Today, I'm honored to bring again one of my old friends. As I said before, I keep on bringing my old friends, and our friendships go to over 30 years with Mr. GMT OTTIENO. OTTIENO is a man with many caps on his head in his own right. He is an international soccer referee and is also a pioneer leader of KIFWA when KIFWA was starting Kenya International Freight Forwarding and Warehousing Association. GMT, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to us.
Thank you, George. Thank you for having me.
It has been a long time.
Indeed, it is.
I've been trying to reach you for quite some time. Sometimes I think because of your retirement, you are out of town. But I'm glad that today you are here and you can tell the story.
Pleasure meeting you again after a while.
Yeah.
Yes, as you have been told, I'm GMT OTTIENO, and as George has said, I wear many hats. Apart from freight logistics, I was also an international referee up to 1993 when I retired. Later became international match commissioner for another 5 years, and here we are.
Thank you, sir. So one of the rituals that we have here is that when you come, you tell us your background. Where did GMT come from? How did you get to the international limelight?
Thank you. GMT was born in 1942 in Kisumu. And on the eve of my birth in Kisumu, the then governor of Kenya was visiting Kisumu. Okay. And the governor's wife visited the hostel and gave the newly born gifts. Okay. And that is where my middle name, Moore, okay. M-O-O-R-E, yes, comes from. Okay. So GMT stands for Gilbert Moore Titus Otieno.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I never knew that.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, GMT started school in 1953 at the age of 12. Then there were no nurseries. So we went.
George Kidenda had not been born.
Perhaps was not even an egg. So I started my primary school at Umala Primary School, which is in Eastern Alego. I personally come from what is North Alego, okay, recently split to Northeastern Alego.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I schooled mainly outside. I went to Kibuye Intermediate School in Kisumu. After transited from Umala Primary School where I started, I was in Kibuye up to 1960. That is standard 7. Later on, I moved to St. Mary's Nyabururu, okay, in Kisii, yes, which is today Cardinal Otunga. Okay. In fact, when Cardinal Otunga was started in 1961, we were with them in the same compound, okay, as St. Mary's Nyabururu, and it was started as St. James.
Yes. Okay.
At that time, Mosochi was being built, okay, and the late Cardinal was the first bishop of Kisii. The school was named Bishop Otunga. Yes. When he became Cardinal, he was changed Cardinal Otunga High School. Okay. That is where I did my CAPE, Kenya African Preliminary Examination. Okay. Now, why was it Kenya African? Because during those days, there were examinations for the Europeans, examination for the Asians, and the examination for Africans. Ours was known Kenya African Preliminary Examination. Okay. From there, I was chosen, when I did my CAPE, I was chosen to go to St. Mary's Yala, Kisumu High School, and Kabete Technical School, yes, which was also both technical and secondary.
My late father was a teacher there.
We'll come to know that. So in 1963, second term, the entire secondary section was moved to found what is today Nakuru High School. And so yes, I can brag that we were the pioneers of Nakuru High School. Yes. And that's where I did my KCSE.
That was
in 1966.
And that has been a prominent school ever since.
It
Nowadays,
is.
we don't hear so much about them, but I think Nakuru High School was one of the top high schools in Kenya for a long time.
George, I can tell you the most unfortunate thing, and I'm sorry I have to say this publicly. You find most of the schools, when they are headed by foreigners, a good example is Precious Blood.
Yes.
We don't hear of Precious Blood these days, but when it was headed by the German sister, Precious Blood was always in the news.
Good. Yeah.
When Starehe, when the late Griffiths was there,
Yes.
Starehe was always top. But I don't know what happens when our Kenyans take the leadership. Standards just... Now we talk of Musocho. When Brother Innocence was there as the first principal, Musocho was tops.
Yes.
But we don't hear of Musocho anymore. Why? I don't know whether we are lacking something in management.
So we are going to talk about that. I think very, very interesting. So you've gone to some of the very prominent schools, starting all the way from primary,
Yes.
all to secondary school.
Yeah.
Where did you go for your college?
I didn't go to college right from school.
Okay.
From school, I joined customs.
Okay. You're in customs.
I joined customs in 1967
Okay.
on the Lovers' Day.
Okay. Yeah.
And I worked in customs for slightly 18 months.
Okay.
From customs, I transited to what was then a logistic company called Peck and Baba Limited.
Yes.
That was one of the oldest logistics headed by Jim Peck and Baba, his brother.
Were they related to Express in any way?
They were rivals of Express. Rivals of
Yes,
Express.
yes. Yeah.
Peck and Baba was based at what is today Trattoria restaurant.
Okay. Yes.
That's where the offices were.
Okay.
And I transited there through another ex-customs employee called Fred Wanjero.
Okay.
If you ever heard of Fred Wanjero, he's the one who plucked me from customs to Peck and Baba Limited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked with Peck and Baba Limited for about 3-4 years.
What was your role there?
My role there was import-export clerk.
Okay.
Import-export clerk. And I was mainly handling logistics within the post office before I graduated to air freight and the sea. From Peck and Baba, from Peck and Baba I went to Firestone, where I was going to be assistant to the freight manager.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't know what happened. When I went there, I was taken to production.
Okay.
And then, being somebody who loved sports, I didn't find that was not going well with me, because in production, you go in at 8, you leave at 3, people coming at 3 leave at 11 p.m., then people at 11 p.m. Leave at around 8 in the morning.
That's 24 hours.
So it didn't go well with my arrangement of going to watch football matches.
No.
So I was in Firestone for exactly 45 days. Then I worked there up to 30th of December. I was jobless on 31st, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, I got a job with what was known as Diversi East African Limited.
Yes.
Now Diversi, the general manager of Diversi, happened to have been somebody who met me at Peck and Baba, and he loved the way I served him.
Yes.
So he told me, Miss Otieno, when we are settled, I would want you to be one of my employees.
Okay.
So when I left Firestone, after 45 days, I went to see Mr. Carter on 3rd of January and told him, you promised me a job. Is that job still available?
Yes.
He was so delighted to see me and said, Miss Otieno, that job is available. Can you start today?
Okay.
But because I also had to show a bit of, not to show desperation, I told him, yes, I could start today, but I think if you give me another 2 weeks, I would have prepared myself to come.
Okay.
So after 2 weeks, I joined Diversi East Africa Limited and founded their import-export department.
Okay.
And believe you me, Diversi became the first company to send me out
by
air. There were cargo which were held up in Asmara.
Yes.
Asmara port,
Yes.
which was then part of Ethiopia.
That time, yeah.
Part of the cargo was damaged, and I had to go there and do assessment.
Okay.
So I applied for a passport which was available within 24 hours, and then what is now part of Treasury,
Yes.
Bima House.
Yes.
I got my passport on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday morning I was on a flight going to Asmara. So I was in Asmara for 5 days, did the assessment, and the company was very happy to have got themselves compensated of the damage.
Okay.
And that is how I became, there I was given the title of import-export supervisor.
Without any training, you're just rising without any training?
I was not
You're
trained.
just being trained on the job?
I was learning on the job because having worked in customs and having worked with Peck and Baba, 45 days in Firestone, I had all the background of logistics. Both local and international.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did you stay with Davasi?
I worked with the Davasi up to 1983. In fact, after just about 2 years, what was then Cooper McDougall and Robertson, which later became Cooper Kenya and later Welcome Kenya, advertised a job.
Okay.
It was a very secluded area, not even prominent. I said, let me try.
Okay.
I applied. Then I was shortlisted, and I got the job.
What position was this?
Position I was still. They employed me as commercial assistant in charge of imports and exports.
Okay.
And they were based at Uniafric House on Kanange Street.
Before moving to
Kabete.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So how long were you with Welcome?
Welcome, I worked with Welcome for 12 years. As now commercial services manager in charge of East Africa. So I was in charge of all the logistics, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, Ethiopia, and briefly, Mauritius. Okay. But it was mostly Zambia, Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania, and Burundi.
Okay.
And of course, we were doing also, as Kenya was doing a lot of manufacturing of foot and mouth diseases, vaccines, we were exporting. And I remember at one time I accompanied a shipment to Saudi Arabia because it was considered so crucial and perishable that it could not just be let to go. Okay. So I had to accompany the shipment up to Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh.
So this is one of these refrigerated
vaccines, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are covering almost East and Central Africa at this stage.
Yes, I covered that. And you asked about college. While I was at Welcome, I involved we were with even Sam Joroge.
Okay.
We were doing what we call extramural for international trade. Okay. So I did my international trade diploma at the University of Nairobi. Okay. With Sam Joroge and many others. Some of us have since expired, unfortunately, but Sam Joroge is still alive. I can remember the late Professor Mutungi, who later became a judge, was one of our lecturers in the law of contract and insurance.
He also lectured me.
He was very good in that. Yes.
He was also my lecturer for law and insurance.
Yes.
So you're making progress, you're learning on your own and rising through the ranks.
Yes, I did that.
When you look at the way the companies were run in those days, and you look at how we Kenyans have since taken over those posts, how do you compare at the level of proficiency in carrying out work and commitment to work?
In the early days, George, as you know, logistics was predominantly foreigners, mostly Asians and whites. If you take companies like Notco, what I've mentioned, Peck and Baba, and many others, they were mostly Africans who are at a lower level, but most of the top leadership was by the foreigners. Okay. But I'm happy the logistics industry has evolved, and I want to believe it is now predominantly local. Okay. I want to believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the service delivery is good.
Service delivery, I would presume is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
A lot of things have changed, and a lot of documentation is now online, as opposed to during our days when you had to move from one document from one office to the other. Yes.
now, if I went out to the streets of Nairobi and I asked people out there whether they have heard of the name GMT OTTIENO,
Yeah.
what would they relate you to?
Wow, that's so interesting. GMT OTTIENO, I can tell you, George, if you mention the name GMT OTTIENO at any stadium in Busia, go across to Malindi, anywhere where there is sports, and you ask for GMT OTTIENO, I'm sure they will know who GMT OTTIENO is. Because I was a referee up to international level accreditation, commonly known as FIFA.
Okay.
I refereed for 20 years. I qualified in 1973, retired in 1993, and immediately I retired from active running into the field as a referee. I was again appointed as International Match Commissioner. Match Commissioner is one who represents at international level if it is CAF organized match, CAF is Confederation of African Football, or if it is FIFA organized football, then you represent them at that level. So I've been in, thereafter, I've been in football all along, because when I left, as I was doing international refereeing, and after leaving Welcome, I founded Guilfred Cargo Services Limited, which I was managing with my two brothers, Michael Maseko and Jack Nyagol, before Jack diverted to be employed by Notco.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, how did you balance your interest in sports and refereeing with your work?
You know, work is mostly during the week, 8 to 5 in the evening. And since it's your own company, sometimes you might work depending on whether you have a cargo to clear, which can spill over to maybe about 6. But most of the weekends I found myself free.
Okay.
And if I was given an assignment at international level, I had a very competent brother, Michael Maseko, and was managing the office very well.
Okay.
So I managed it.
Okay.
And I would say, George, being in sports has kept me be what I am. As you see me, I'm not a young man. Huh?
I was surprised.
And when I tell people my age, they always dispute it until I show them my ID.
Yes.
And I appreciate that
So
God has given me good life.
What is the current
As I speak today, I'm 83 and 1 month on the 12th of this month. 83 and 1 month on the 12th of this month.
Okay.
Do I look it?
Yeah. Interesting. I really appreciate the way that you've taken good care of yourself. Many people, I think, I see many of my age mates that we started off, lived compromised lives, and many of them, when you look at them, they look much older than some of us.
Yeah, George, I think we tend to misuse our lives by overindulgence at times. I think I've lived a very sort of a regimented life, whereby I can only drink 2 beers at any time. It doesn't matter how many beers you have there.
You drink like a Catholic.
I'm a staunch Catholic. Apart from sports, I drink but Catholic.
Yes.
And before I leave that, I've been the choir member in a Catholic church since 1955, up to today.
For the whole of my life?
Whole of my life, I've been a choir member. At the moment, I'm a choir member at the St. Paul's University Chapel. Now,
viewers, I'm stopping just to appreciate my friend Jim, who has been a choir member for the whole of my life. I consider myself very old, but we thank God that we have such men in our society who have been dedicated in their work, and in everything that he has done since, as we are discussing here, you can see the spirit of excellence in him. And GMT, again, congratulations. I want to shake your hand.
Thank you very much, George. Thank you
for all the time that you have served. So, you have been employed. You have also mixed up that employment with what you like most, and that is sports.
Yes.
And in sports, you chose one of the most difficult roles to play, the role of a referee.
Yes.
What have you learned from that you can now share with members of KIFO? Because we are just about to talk about KIFO. We are just about to talk about how you got involved in KIFO, your role at the beginning of KIFO. What has refereeing helped you with in your day-to-day business and relationships with people?
Thank you. As a referee, you are considered a judge, but we call ourselves adjudicators.
Okay.
Because you adjudicate between two competing clubs. Of course, that puts you in a situation whereby you have to balance judicial decisions impartially.
Yeah.
And I think football refereeing has put me in that level whereby I did not stop there. When the government was starting Sports Dispute Tribunal, I happened to have been one of the inaugural members of Sports Dispute Tribunal. That again, I worked with lawyers. We had how many lawyers? I think we had 5 lawyers, and we were 9 members of the tribunal. And among us, we had 5 lawyers. So there again, I learned a lot, which I think has put me in a state whereby I should be in a position to adjudicate between two warring people, whether in logistics, in sports, or any other, that say, if somebody was to engage me today in a land board at home, I think I should be able to serve very well because I have the judicial background of how to adjudicate between two warring parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I invited you to bring some of your tools of management.
Yeah, some of my...
Could you just share with us?
Some of my tools in management, football management are this.
Yes.
This is what controls.
Okay.
This is the tool of controlling the football match. And this is a whistle. As you officiate in the center, you have 2 assistants who help you to manage the game.
Okay.
And this one will show you when a foul has been committed that has been spotted by your assistants.
Okay.
We also have we are supposed to have 2 cards, yellow card and red card. Unfortunately, I didn't carry that today.
Yeah.
The yellow card is called a cautionary card.
Cautionary card, okay.
That is where you caution a player that you have made an offense, you caution him.
Okay.
The next card is a red card, and the red card means expulsion from further participation in a football tournament. For obvious reasons, could be serious foul misconduct, abusive language, or such things. Yeah. Those are the tools we use in the football.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
So now you have your tools.
Yes.
Now we want to talk about your role in the logistics.
Yes.
Now as an entrepreneur and a leader of the people. KIFO was formed in the mid-90s, late 90s.
Yes.
Going to the 2000s.
Correct.
And I recall that you are one of the people with Sam Jeroge who confronted us on the side where we were in Kenya clearing, forwarding and warehousing a station.
Yeah.
And we had to come to a round table to talk.
Yeah.
What was your main grievance? What was your main complaint at that time? What was the challenge?
Thank you very much, George. The reason why we found it right to come approach you so that we come together was to be able to speak with one voice.
Okay.
Because we thought the foreigners were taking advantage of our division so as to put in a wedge for their own advantage. Yet, if we came together, which eventually we did, and thank God, you people saw the need, we merged and formed Kenya International Freight and Warehousing Association, which I think is still going on well, and I want to believe they are not slackening, and they will be able to build on, just like Tuoli is doing it with his other colleagues in Kotu. Yes.
Yes. So I remember those meetings, and we would sit, we would be there, Sabwa would be there. Who else was on your side?
We had Sam Joroge was our leader. We had Enoch Sabwa. We had, I think Chris Bichage came later. But we had Yeah, we had Jacinta Maganda
Yes, Jacinta, yes.
as a lady,
Yeah,
which was in fact very tough. Yes.
I've spoken to her, we'll be interviewing her.
And quite a number of others whose names I cannot immediately recall.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, so are you still in the logistics sector, or is your business still on?
When we started Kenya Premier League, which you must have known,
Yes, yes.
again it was a tussle because we had a lot of mismanagement of football, and Bob Munro, may his soul rest in peace, Bob Munro and others, we came to start what was then called ICCG, Inter Club Consultative Group.
Yes, yes.
We found the football being mismanaged, and we thought we should find a common ground, particularly for the top clubs. And we started into ICCG, which later became Kenya Football Group, and later graduated to Kenya Premier League. When Kenya Premier League was started, they were looking for office, and the only immediate place that was going to get office was Bob Munro was going to give office in Mathare, where his team was.
Yes.
But I told them, look, if you take this thing to Bob's office, and there are people who are against Bob, they are going to say this is a Bob's issue. Mm-hmm. So I offered one of my office. I had two offices at the other house.
Okay.
So I offered my small office at the other house to KPL. Mm-hmm. That's where KPL started. Okay. Later on it grew, we got another second office. Okay. And eventually we moved to Westlands. Okay. Then KPL knew that for them to succeed, they had to get somebody who knew about football as a referee. Because the government, the federation, being backed by the government, was against this. And they were threatening referees. So being there, and I know what was for these people to succeed, I managed to get a few referees who are also as staff to be able to assist. And we managed to build a Kenyan Premier League to what eventually it was, became professional. When the league is being run independently, it grows. Okay. Otherwise, if it is left under the federation, various characters in the federation have various interests.
You are a senior citizen of this country.
Yes.
You have a lot of experience in the sector. One of the gifts that you have is that of refereeing and adjudicating. One of the problems that we have had in Kifwa over the years is the issue of conflict resolution. Yeah. The nature of our constitution is quite clear, both the 1996 and the one that is in court now. It is very clear in the constitution what we ought to do. But it would seem to me that we lack the right kind of people, to be able to arbitrate, to be able to adjudicate when there are conflicts in the leadership wrangles. What is your advice to Kifwa members? How should we handle our conflicts? We have, and maybe this you needed to see more about that in the Constitution. We have the trustees that are there, but the trustees only come in when Kifwa is dissolved, the leadership is dissolved, and therefore the trustees have to come and organize new elections. How can we benefit from people like you in ensuring that conflicts are resolved without pushing Kifwa always to the brink of the solution?
I'm saddened to hear that we still have cases in Kifwa arising from disputes. Disputes arise as a result of people having ego of know-it-all. There is nobody who knows it all. So my advice would be that people should swallow their pride and know there are people who are born leaders and there are people who would want to be there because they want to be there. Today, FIFA should not be having conflict in leadership. My advice would be let them look for the founder members of Kifwa. How did they manage to bring together the two groups, the Kenya the one you mentioned, the Kenya Clearing Forwarding, which was being led by you and Sam Degwa. And then this side, we still have Sam Joroge, we have Chris Bichage, I'm still there. I want to believe, Jacinta Maganda is still there. We should be able to bring them together and let them, ladies and gentlemen, this thing was started for a common good of all of us. Let us not kill it for the purposes of greed of other people. Yeah,
you know what worries me in a lot of instances is the fact that people are not willing to give and take. When our two groups came together, some of us had to give up our positions.
Correct.
So that others, Sam Degwa was our chairman.
Yeah.
But he allowed Sam Joroge to
take over. Yes.
I was his vice chairman.
Yeah.
Okay. I
you
left
allowed
room for others to
take over.
To come in.
Yeah.
The problem that the people that are in our sector must be able to discuss seriously is how to develop leaders who are willing to give and take for the sake of our association.
Can I just respond by saying, can these people warring in Kifwa take a cue from our political leaders? We had a government of Kibaki and Raila, which was mediated by international statesmen. Then we had, again, a handshake. Now we are having what is called broad-based government. Can't these people in Kifwa just borrow a leaf from these three examples? I think it's too obvious. And just as I said earlier, and you have just given a very good example, if Sam Degwa could stand down for Sam Joroge, and they became officials of Kifwa, and led it to the level where they left it for others, my plea would be to the current leadership of Kifwa, if you are still in court, let them withdraw the case, call these elders who are still there, we can sit them down and tell them, gentlemen, there is give and take. You can lead today, if somebody leaves it, you can leave to the next time. So I think that would be my advice. Let these people borrow a leaf from our political leaders. I think they have given us three examples which I've cited.
Yes, and I think what we need to, number one, we want to appreciate that the elections have gone on, and there are now new people who have been elected in office, and we are hoping that they'll be given the freedom to achieve the goals for which they aspired for that office. But what we're saying is that leaders must be willing to listen, number one.
True.
And that means that those who are in power and those who are aspiring for power must be willing to listen.
Correct.
Two, there will always be a give and take in any leadership for anything to thrive. You can appreciate that it is when Sam Joroge became the chairman of Kifwa that we rose even to the level of Fiafa to be the vice president. And therefore we could be listened to all across the world. So we should be able to support one another. And we should be able to see that our members benefit.
Correct.
I want to ask you the last question.
Yes.
The last question I've asked many people. A lot of us start companies. We run them for years. Then our children don't want
to go on with it.
Don't want to take over.
Yes.
And yet, in other communities, we see that companies are running generation after generation and growing stronger and stronger. What is your advice to the Kenyan business community who are working so hard, building up their companies, and maybe their children are not thinking in that direction? What do we do with these companies that we are building if we can't merge them, if we can't sell them? What is the advice?
I think here, George, maybe we'll blame ourselves that we have not developed our children into line of logistics. Children today, when they are in school, they are aspiring to be doctors, engineers, You will hardly hear any of your children saying, Dad, I would also want to follow your your profession. I don't know what we can do to be able to get our children like logistics. But one thing you must appreciate, logistics, George, is very demanding. Because sometimes if you have to deliver cargo to somebody in Kiambu and you leave ICD at 6, believe you me, offloading those in Kiambu will go. Some are very delicate, and they will probably work up to almost 9, 10 p.m. Our children are now geared to office work of IT, engineering, and engineering has got a wide area of engineering, electrical, road, what have you. They want to be called engineer so and so, not a logistician. So I think maybe it is us to blame for not encouraging them to follow our footsteps.
Yes. So we've had situations that are very challenging to our age mates. Because we thought we were investing into those companies for the sake of our children, that they would inherit those businesses.
Take a good example, my own Guildford. When I went into managing football, I left it to my 2 brothers. My other brother migrated to America. He left it to the other one. The other one couldn't manage it. It just collapsed. So it's unfortunate.
It's something that we all have to look at. Friends, we are coming to the end of this interview with my friend GMT OTTIENO. We've touched on many areas, but the question that I think I'd like to leave with our members, particularly members of KIFWA, members of FIAPA, who are working hard to set up their companies, trying to establish them to be very professional. What is it that we can do to ensure that our companies exist beyond our lifetimes? What can we do? I have spoken in the past about having mergers so that our families, our friendships can come together so that we can be able to go beyond our lifetime. But I think that's something still for debate. And you are the people who own the companies. You are the people who are working hard to form companies, to build them. But what is the life of your company after you have left, after you have retired? What is the life of your company as we go into Africa continental free trade area, when more competition is coming to this part of the world? As a member of this fraternity, as an investor in the logistics sector, what must we do to ensure that we survive the competition that is coming ahead of us? Thank you. Thank you for always watching. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support. And we look forward to presenting you the next friend who will talk to us about this sector. GMT OTTIENO.
Thank you very much, George, for inviting me.
I'm very grateful that you came.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you. God bless.